I think so too, because like with social media, like, you got a pretty big following on there, right? I think like, what do you got, like 20,000 followers?
15, around that 15,000.
Yeah, 15,000 followers, and like that's all across like the nation, right?
Yeah.
And like you don't know who's on the other end,
Exactly.
like that's buying it. You probably might have like a 10-year-old kid that's buying it, and like that's the reason why I'm taking social media. I really want to like I'm putting out content. I want to get more content on there. Like, did your media following, did it just kind of grow as you kind of like posted shoes and everything like that, or was your idea to grow the social media so you can sell more business?
Yeah, so it's funny. Everyone asks us like, oh, how do we get the following that we have? And we literally just do it as organic as possible. Like, I know there's businesses that run like the giveaway model and the tag this, tag that. We usually do that too, but we never did it in hopes to gain a crazy following. We just wanted to do it as organic as possible. And that's something that we actually want to like kind of transform our business into. Like, reels is very hard to do, you know, like as tech savvy as I am, like doing a reel and reaching and like doing something that I'm not comfortable doing, like TikTok or YouTube, something that was always in the back of our minds, because businesses change all the time, and just getting outside of your comfort zone is something that I would like to do.
On today's podcast, where we talk about business and entrepreneurship, we have Mr. Daniel Tanglau with Archived SF. How's it going, Daniel?
Good, man. Good to see you, bro. It's been a minute.
Yeah, it's been a minute, man. Good to see you. So, what we kind of like to start off in the beginning of the podcast is we like to kind of talk about your journey from when you started and where exactly you're at right now. I know that you started off with doing the shoes, kind of flipping the shoes, and now you got your own business, on Burlingame Ave and everything like that. So kind of tell us how that, went about and some of the things that you did to get there. Yeah,
for sure. So this pretty much starts off with me starting in sneaker retail.
Okay.
So my first real experience with selling shoes at a spot where I was actually getting paid for it was Finish Line. So this was like, when was this? This was like 2010 or 2011. So I started off with that, and then right after that I got recruited to work at Nike.
Okay.
So a Nike associate, Nike Town at the time in SF. Mm-hmm. He worked over there and brought me over to Nike SF. So I worked over there for a little bit, and then after that I worked at Nordstrom. That's pretty much my shoe timeline. Man, collectively I've been selling shoes as like a job for like 10 plus years.
Oh, damn.
Which is crazy to think about, because like I've always just been around selling shoes. Mm-hmm. And then after Nordstrom, I was pretty much at SF State.
Okay.
So I was pursuing my business administration degree. So I finished with that, and at the same time I was running my business on Instagram. So my individual business was called Steezy Supply. Okay. And what I would do, I would help other people sell shoes. Well, Sneaker Steez was my first IG.
Okay.
And I would help people sell shoes. So they would send me shoes, or they would send me pictures of their shoes, and I would just get a cut of it after selling it on my IG. So that's how I kind of started. And then I moved into doing something individually called Steezy Supply, mm-hmm. where I would pretty much sell my personal stuff. Okay. Whether it was shoes, clothing, accessories, all the hype stuff, all the streetwear stuff, was what I was handling, and it really just got to the point where I had so much stuff at the house. Right. This was around 2019, I would say. I had so much stuff in the house, and my parents were like, "What are you doing? What are you doing with all these shoes and all these clothes?" So it got to the point where I met I've known my business partners for a while. I didn't know one of my business partners, so I didn't know Mark as much as I did my other partner, Aegis. Mm-hmm. And Aegis was doing, at the same time I was doing shoes, he was doing more of the vintage clothing. Okay. And both of us pretty much just got to the point where we were like, man, we gotta open up shop. And that's where we kind of got linked with Mark, our third partner. Okay. Mark is more behind the scenes, and he does his own brand, and but us three, we started Archived 2019. And our first location was on Bayshore, so in Burlingame. So 2019, and 5 years later, now we're on Burlingame Ave, and
growing.
Growing.
I love it, man. I love the story. Now, like, when you got into you said you were doing retail in shoes or whatnot, was kind of opening up and doing opening up your own shoe store, was that something that you were planning on doing and envisioned, or did that just something that just kind of fell on your lap?
So not necessarily. The only reason why I work with shoes is because I loved it so much. So Finish Line was really my introduction to like making money and actually getting the shoes that I want and actually buying shoes for myself. And then from there it led to Nike, working at Nike, obviously. But man, I didn't really want to get into business until I started working at Nordstrom and I became a manager over there. Okay. Just learning the ins and outs of business, and at the same time going to school for it kind of like introduced me into the idea of opening my own shop. Okay. Being a manager, especially like a department manager at Nordstrom, because I was working at women's shoes, bro. I was working at women's shoes for 3 years.
BP shoes, was it?
Yeah, so BP and women's shoes. It was at my location. It was pretty much a combined floor. Yeah. And just learning the ropes and learning the ins and outs of actually being a manager and holding down a fort and running a department like that, like kind of introduced me into doing what I do now. Like, why not combine the two, doing what I love to do and what I went to school for, and just open up my own business.
Okay, that. So now, when you did open up that business, right? Like you got your own shoe store. When you first started, you said you had Steezy. Was it Steezy
Supply?
Steezy Supply or whatnot. Were you selling shoes on there as well?
Yeah.
So, and then when did you say, okay, this is this is a business that I want to get into? Because it sounds like you started off with selling clothing or selling for other people, and you kind of worked your way into that the actual retail store itself, right?
Yeah. So it just got to the point, bro, where I just felt like I wasn't making the money that I wanted to make helping other people. Okay. So I took it into my own hands. Instead of taking a commission cut for helping people sell their shoes, I would just do outright buy, sell, and trade. So I would just buy their shoes outright and then have a bigger markup for whatever I repost it for. So once I found out that was a better path for me, and it was a better path of making the money that I wanted to make, but at the same time growing a business like that and that scale was for me. I was sold. Right. And I've been in business for 5 years, so it's been working, bro. It's been working. And we kind of got lucky because at the time, like 2019 was kind of the peak of people really buying and selling shoes. And obviously times have changed and trends have changed, but we've found ways to just stay consistent. With Instagram, and now that we have a website, that just helps, so much.
Tell me the difference, right? Because like you come off from like selling retail shoes in that space, and you come into selling your own shoes, like selling for somebody else and then selling the shoes for yourself. How does that feel, and like how much like does that differentiate between the two, right? Like I'm sure there's like doing something for yourself and then doing it for somebody else is like two different worlds. You're doing the same exact service by selling the shoes, but you're doing it for yourself. Because how does that feel as being an entrepreneur for selling shoes instead of doing it for somebody else?
Oh, it's a crazy difference. I mean, obviously I worked in shoe retail for so long, but just finding out that you kind of don't want to work for a higher up just kind of like led me into opening up my own business. Like obviously it was my foundation, and I'm super thankful for the retail experience that I did have. But owning a store, like it's a crazy feeling. From opening, every time I come into the store, it kind of still hasn't really hit me that I run a business like that. And at the same time, it's something I like to do. Like I said, it's like it's a crazy feeling owning a business. And I still kind of like, obviously I don't like to promote myself as such, you know what I mean? Like a business owner, like I want my business to speak for itself. Right. And that's just how that's how we've been able to operate, bro. Just doing what we love to do. And not calling it a job. It's just really like what we like to do.
So then you got into something that you essentially like to do, which is sell shoes, because it sounds like you had a huge background in it, right? Yeah. For me, at least for moving, I was never in the moving industry. Yeah. And that's just something that kind of just fell on my lap, and I was like, holy shit, moving, I didn't really know what to do, and I kind of figured my way out. How much do you think it helped you being in retail shoes to having your own shoe store or shoe company? How much did that help you with the retail shoes on that part?
I think it was more so about understanding product knowledge and understanding what the customer wants. Like I said, like changes, like trends change all the time. Okay. So just learning the ins and outs of what a customer wants and needs, and trying to understand and develop how trends change and why trends change, and just understanding that, like, it's more so product knowledge, like, especially working in women's shoes, because it's a whole different ballgame. Like with us, like we buy, sell sneakers all the time. But when it comes to like women and women's shoes, like you have to learn about heels, you have to learn about platforms, espadrilles, you have to learn about flats. It's like a whole different ballgame when it comes to that. And working at Nordstrom, I would say helped way more than it did than school.
Really? Yeah.
To school. Yeah. Because you're in real life situations. And being a manager, you had to deal with like so much other things. Right. Like customers complaining, customers giving like different feedback, and just trying to understand and change your business as the seasons go along, especially with retail, summer, fall, winter, how trends change. Yeah. Working sales, working the crazy Nordstrom sales, and all that just kind of molded me into becoming a business owner. Yeah. Because in a way I did kind of own my own business at Nordstrom, Right. Even though I was just an assistant manager, like working with a team and working with other managers, you kind of just feel like you run your own business within itself.
Yeah, no, yeah. And I totally agree with that. It's crazy because I had another guest here on the podcast, and he was saying the same exact thing, because he went to school and he went to college. You graduated college, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he graduated college, he graduated school, and he was like, I don't remember nothing from college. Yeah. And I kind of get that same story from every single person that's been in here, and they say that the best way that they learned business was they got into sales, and then they used that sales managerial experience and they transferred it over to their actual business. Would you say that's the same exact thing for you?
Oh yeah, definitely, bro. Like you can learn, you can only learn so much in school without actually acting in it, or not acting in it, but like actually being in the field.
Would you say that you use anything from your school background in business today?
I would say like customer, I would say just customer interactions, and just like the psychological part of why customers buy the things they do, and just different business aspects. I would say I learned from being in school, but I was in school for business administration, and a minor in marketing. So if anything, I learned more on the marketing side as far as like working in Instagram and what engages people and what makes people engage with some certain posts and certain sales and stuff like that. So if anything, I learned more from the marketing side of things. And but yeah, I mean, I learned a lot more at Nordstrom than I did in school.
Now I gotta ask, right? So like shoes, as like do you sell like all types of shoes? Do you sell like the rare shoes, and then the shoes that people do want? Like, how do you source them? How do you get them? Like, I've heard of like people using like these bots. Yeah. These bots that are able to buy like 50, 100 pairs and everything like that. Yeah. How do you kind of get your shoes? Is it through relationships? How do you kind of do that?
So I've never wanted to do it that way, like the bots and stuff. I just wanted to be as organic as possible. Before our business, I mean, ever since we opened, we run buy, sell, and trade. So we have customers come to us at our physical location with whatever they have to sell. Right. And then we buy it, clean them up, and then repost it for whatever the market is. So we don't really like to go out and source as much. We like it to come to us because we do have our own location. But I know my partners, they used to go to like all the thrifts and stuff like that. They used to come up on that. They used to go to different flea markets and stuff like that just to get inventory. But for me, I just let it come to me. Like, honestly, like, it's come to the point where I have people hitting me up like on a day-to-day basis.
Through where? Like what platforms are you marketing right now? I mean, for us, we're always marketing through like Yelp, through Google, through Instagram, things like that. I know for every single industry, it's a little bit different. But our bread and butter, and where most people find us, is through like Google, and then we're getting a pretty good following on Instagram and our social media following, especially doing like podcasts like this. Where do you find most of your business at?
I mean, a majority of our business is on Instagram. At the same time, I like to individually go out on Facebook too. I used to go on I'm still on Facebook groups.
Bash?
Yeah, Bay Area sneakerheads. So different sneaker groups within the Bay Area. I like to promote myself on there. And then there's like different shows that people have, like sneaker shows. Like you remember, like it's like Dunk Exchange, but now it's like SneakerCon. So they have different shows like that. And although we never really got into it as a store, I like to just frequent it by myself.
Got it.
But honestly, being in business for 5 years, you kind of just develop the
relationship,
the clientele, where you don't really have to go out and try to find shoes. It just comes, like our DMs are flooded on a day-to-day basis. Our phone lines is blowing up. I mean, granted, there's so many sneaker stores around the Bay Area.
So I'm saying, so like, because I see there's some like I know they got one at Westlake, they got one at Mission, and
they have so many.
They have so many. So it's like, what separates you guys from like the other companies or the other shoe stores? Why they wouldn't go to them? Like for us, what really separates us is our service. We make sure that we take care of the client at the end of the day, and also our branding and our marketing. What separates you guys for the shoe store that you guys have, and why do people want to go with you guys?
I would say the main difference, I mean, not to shade any other store in the Bay Area, because I'm literally cool with like all the business owners when it comes to shoes. But our prices, I want to say, have been consistent since we opened. They're usually under or at market price. We don't really like to upcharge over the value of the shoes.
Right.
So I think I feel like that's our main like source of engagement and just getting people to support us. Like we try our best to just price everything as fairly as possible.
What's a typical margin, essentially? Like for us, we have certain margins that we want to hit, and we're always going to increase our prices, throughout the year, because there's slow times, there's busy times. I mean, I'm sure you got like Black Friday. Black Friday's in 2 days. But like for us, we raise our prices during the summer because we know so many more people are going to be moving, and we don't have enough scheduling on there. Like, what's your typical margin on like a shoe? Like, does it vary, depend, or what does that look like?
I would say it varies. I would definitely say there's a certain tier of shoes that we know would sell regardless of what we price it at. And then obviously there's other things, there's other variables, whether it's worn, whether it's new, and sizing. Like everything matters, bro. Like when it comes to shoes, like if we get a shoe size that's bigger than what we normally sell, then obviously we would price it a little bit lower or a little bit higher than what we normally sell it for. But like I said, dude, trends change daily. So for us, just staying under that margin of being overpriced keeps us in business.
Is there a typical like margin that you guys need to hit on like a shoe? Like you say, hey, I take this shoe in, right? And this is what I need to make on it in order to take this shoe in. Because for us, we don't go out for certain amounts of if it's a small amount, like we have like a 3-hour minimum or a 4-hour minimum. Like we're like, hey, in order for us to do this move, even though it's this and this, we need $700-800 because we're paying for this, we're paying for insurance and everything like that. Like what about you guys? Like, is there a certain minimum amount that you guys need to make on the shoe? Like, what if somebody says, I need $1,000 for this shoe, and like you guys are not going to really make any money on there? Like, would you guys still do it? Or
I would say it depends. It depends on the current trend and how well we've been doing with that shoe, or even that model in itself. Because shoes actually do go for like $1,000 now, which is kind of normal as opposed to how it was before. But I would say there isn't really like a certain margin we hit. Anywhere from like 10 to 30% is where we like to be comfortable around. But like I said, it depends on the shoe. Depends on if it's new. Depends on if it's used. Sizing is also a big part of, because we're in the Bay Area, so a lot of Asians are like size 9 through 10 mainly.
Right.
And that's the majority of our inventory. Size 8 through 10 is where we get like everything of, you know, and then anything outside of that, it's kind of iffy because of the situation or the area that we're in.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as like profit margins go, it really just depends on what it is.
So how many shoes are you guys like taking in, and like does that ever like affect you guys whenever you guys have like a huge inventory influx? Like will you guys like buy, because I've done business with you bought my shoe and you know you went ahead and resold it or whatever, but like have you ever had a time where you bought something and it didn't sell, or you like lost money on
All
it?
the time. All the time.
All the time?
All the time.
Oh, really?
Like I said, trends change and market changes so often in shoes. It's like you either take an L or you win big. And that's why we kind of like to price everything as reasonable as possible, so it's a quick move.
That makes sense.
And that's how we just stay competitive. Like, stuff is moving in and out all the time in the store.
Right.
There isn't really like a time where we're overstocked in something, and that's like something that we're proud of, you know.
Right.
We run sales on a consistent basis whenever there's a holiday. Now that we have our website, people are able to see our inventory without coming into the store. We do trades all day. You know what I mean? So that's what we like to pride ourselves on. For people to come into the location and see what we have outside of shoes, because we have a lot of clothes too. Yeah. And you know, just being able to work a deal where we don't have to spend money, we just have to trade or you know work that kind of deal. As long as it's a win-win for both situations, I feel like that's how we've been able to just rotate and move a lot of stuff.
So, you know, I'm guilty of this. You know, I've paid like 1,000. I think like super crazy.
More than that for sure.
I paid I think maybe like, I don't even know,
12 or 13 probably.
1,300.
You got them brand new?
I got them brand new, yeah. So like, and then the retail on there is like
160.
Yeah,
180.
Yeah, 160, 180. Like, you know, the people that get them, right? Like, it's like they get them at that cost and they're like flipping it and making like huge margins on there. Like, I always think of like, God damn, like there's that guy who's on Instagram. His name is Benjamin Kicks. Yeah. Benjamin Kicks, and like he's like killing it off the shoes and everything like that. And I'm like, man, like, is it like, would you say that that is hard to come by, like as far as getting those deals or those shoes? Like, do you have to wait in line for the release or something like that?
It's gotten to the point where inventory just comes to us, really. The only time I really like actually try for a shoe is if I want to keep it for myself.
Oh, okay.
So that's the only time I really like would stand in line or even try online, because it's hard, bro. It's really hard to get shoes for retail now because there's so many people that are into shoes. Right. Like, people, like, you would think that people aren't really into. There's so many people into shoes. Like, it's gotten to the point where we get 10, 11, 12-year-olds reselling us shoes. Like, we had a customer come in today. He probably was not even 10. And he brought some fours to us, and he was like, "Oh, what would you guys do for these cash?" Did you say? Like, oh, this is crazy. Like, we weren't doing that at 10, 11 years old. Not at all. Like, we were worried about what we were gonna eat for lunch. Right. Like, the interest and the sneaker hype has just gotten younger and younger, and at the same time, it's getting older and older too. Right. There's a lot of, you know, the people that used to appreciate shoes and weren't able to get it because they weren't making that kind of money are into it now. So, you know, it's crazy, bro. Like, our customers are getting younger and younger. Right. But at the same time, it's weird because we're getting older too, you know? Yeah, so it's an eye opener for sure. And kids, I would say teens now are so spoiled. Right. Because for us, we had to literally go in the mall and do the dirty work of like standing in line, waiting overnight, waiting days to get something that we wanted. But now with like the internet and paying the premium to get something that you want, like, kids have access to that now. Like, we did not, bro. Like, we had such a hard time getting stuff that we wanted. But now it's just easy with this day and age of media, social media, and just internet access, and kids on the iPad, and kids on sneakers, kids getting stuff for retail. It's like, it's so easy for them to get the inventory and to get what they want, as opposed to us, you know?
Yeah, and hey guys, if you really like this video, like, comment, and subscribe. This will help the channel grow drastically. Share this to 5 different people that you think can benefit from it. Now back to the video. I think so too, because like with social media, like, you know, you got a pretty big following on there, right? I think like, what do you got, like 15, 20,000 followers?
15, around that, 15,000?
Yeah, 15,000 followers. Yeah. And like, that's all across like the nation, right? Yeah. And like, you don't know who's on the other end, like that's buying it. You probably might have like a 10-year-old kid that's buying it. And like, you know, that's the reason why I'm taking social media. I really want to, like, I'm putting out content. I want to get more content on there. Like, did your media following, did it just kind of grow as you kind of like posted shoes and everything like that, or was your idea to grow the social media so you can sell more business?
Yeah, so it's funny. Everyone asks us like, oh, how do we get the following that we have? And we literally just do it as organic as
Right.
possible. Like I know there's businesses that run like the giveaway model and the tag this, tag that. We usually do that too, but we never did it in hopes to gain a crazy following. We just wanted to do it as organic as possible. And that's something that we actually want to like kind of transform our business into. Like reels is very hard to do, you know, like as tech savvy as I am, like doing a reel and reaching and like doing something that I'm not comfortable doing, like TikTok or YouTube.
Right.
Something that was always in the back of our minds.
Yeah.
Because, you know, businesses change all the time.
Yeah.
And just getting outside of your comfort zone is something that I would like to do, and still would like to do, but like our businesses are as organic as possible.
Right.
Yeah.
So like, you know, as an entrepreneur, right, you've been in business 5 years.
Yeah.
Typical, like, I know because I'm still in a business, and I love everything about business, not only my business, but like that's why I have so many business owners that come on here.
Yeah.
Like the typical business will fail 99% of them will fail within the first 5 years. It seems like you made it over that hump, which is 5 years.
Yeah.
Now, tell me, in that 5 year span, what are some of the obstacles that you kind of, you know, had, and like some of the bottlenecks that you had? Like, tell us some of those things on that journey. Because I know for me, I had so many obstacles that I needed to get past. That, you know, employees, you know, I had to even like making payroll, grabbing cash from here,
Yeah.
and then just trying to make ends like meet. Because, you know, and I just had that grit that I was like, you know, I got to make this work. I got to make it work. I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna do whatever it takes. Have you ever had anything like that? And tell me about your journey. Like,
oh yeah, the 5 years that we've been in business, it wasn't all smooth.
Yeah.
You know, the first instance that comes to mind was getting broken into. So we got broken into within our first year, or a little bit after our first year of business, when we were on Bayshore. And our old location was right off the freeway. Mm-hmm. So we got broken into, I want to say 2019 or 2020.
Maybe 2020 because of the whole COVID and everybody was like bashing.
Even before that. So before, we got broken into that like right before, like a couple months before COVID even was a thing. Yeah. And that's another problem that I had too, just navigating through COVID. But I would say the break-in was pretty hard on our business because we didn't know how to handle it. You know, we thought we were in a location where it was safe. You know, there's a lot of police around our area. Yeah. Burlingame is a super safe place.
Super safe, yeah.
So you wouldn't think anything would happen, but it happened to us, and you know, they were able to make out with whatever valuables that we had in the shop. It wasn't anything crazy. They didn't completely wipe us out. Yeah. But we had to close for, I want to say like a good week or two, but you know, like not like other businesses, like where they would just completely close. Yeah. We were able to stay open with the support of our customers. Yeah. And just posting, just being super transparent with our customers on our feed too. Yeah. Posting that we got broken into, you know, not asking anyone for like a GoFundMe or right. or help or like, you know what I mean? Like we just wanted to just be as transparent as possible, and that actually helped us, you know, move in that next level of engagement, you know, after getting broken into, because then, you know, the spotlight's on us and what are they gonna do? So we were able to open after a week or two. We completely remodeled the store, and then as soon as we opened back up, that's when it kind of just took off. Yeah, right before COVID, obviously. But COVID, like I said, was another issue, or not issue, but it was another hump for us to get over, because most of our business was in store. We didn't have our website yet.
Got it.
So as soon as COVID hit, obviously we're not making consistent money. So we just decided to open up the website. And the website took off. Right. As you know, COVID, a lot of people had money. So
the EDD cards.
Not even just that. I mean, people just didn't have money to spend, or didn't want to spend money outside of, you know, or they couldn't spend money outside of, you know, like at a mall or at a store. Yeah. You know, because malls were closed, stores were closed. So they had the money stacking up, and as soon as we opened up our website, that's when it just took off. Like people were spending. So, right. Yeah. Yeah.
Were you guys doing any type of like ads or anything like that for your website to take off on there, or did you just have like?
We didn't. We just ran it through Instagram and just marketed it through Instagram, and obviously the search engine, and whenever you search for an item, it would pop up if you're local. But we never did any ads or anything like that. just because at the same time there is a lot of fraud going on online too.
Yeah.
So we wanted to keep it as local as possible, but still having that same core of customers that are out of state.
Right.
But yeah, we just like to keep it within the family and keep it within the IG and the socials, not as much as like ads and stuff like that. So
Would you say most of your guys' clients, are they like in California, or like you guys have a lot of like out of state clients, or are they like local and everything like that?
yeah, so I would say, I mean, outside of California, I would say a majority is in California. I'm pretty sure same with you.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
Inside of California, anything outside would be like Seattle. Vegas is really, really up and coming too.
Oh wow.
And then New York. Anything outside of that is pretty rare, but I would say Seattle is a big one. Seattle's really big in vintage and shoes. Vegas is literally our next door neighbor, so there. And then New York. That's pretty much it.
What's the most expensive shoe that you've ever had in your inventory and that you sold for?
Oh man, I was just talking about this the other week.
This is great. Like I've seen shoes, and like, you know, I like shoes. I mean, I just had Teddy on here before, like on the previously. That motherfucker has a lot of shoes, like, yeah, and he has a shit ton of shoes.
He does.
And like it's telling me like this shoe is 40,000-50,000. Like that's wild. You know, I don't know why anybody would. I mean, it's an expensive addiction, but like, you know.
Well, we've never had anything of that level. Just because our customers are so young, like our clientele is pretty young. Like I said earlier, a kid came in, they were 10 years old, so we can't really have anything like that crazy. And at the same time, we got broken into, so we don't want that attention on us. Yeah. You know, if we have anything valuable, but the most valuable shoe that we've had, I would say it's less than $2,000.
What shoe was that?
What was it? It was like a Travis Jordan low. We've had Travis Jordan lows for like 1,700. Nothing more than that. And
then, like, you know, as far as those shoes are, is it just people that just want to like resell it, or are they like are they needing money, like, or are they bought it for retail and they resell it to you guys? How does that kind of look like as far as like your people that you buy from?
I would say it's a mix of both. People that get it for retail and want to flip it for crazy margins, or people that just want some extra dough. But it's cool getting those kind of shoes that are higher ticket, because more times than not, a lot of customers like to trade. So if we get a shoe like of that stature, like a $1,700 to $1,800 shoe, we would have someone that just has a bunch of inventory and just brings it over and just is able to swap like 10 or 15 pairs for that one shoe, which is crazy to think of.
Yeah, that is crazy. Have you ever seen like those shoes and like those counterfeit shoes, those fraud shoes or whatever, like have you ever seen those ever come into your store and people are like trying to sell it? Yeah. And like just tell me about, like, do they know that it's actually fake? Like, I'm sure they probably don't know, and they probably come to you and they're like, hey, come buy this shoe. Yeah, this is real or whatever. And then how do you tell the differences?
So there is a lot of instances where they come in and they're like, can you, like, after the fact that they say, like, oh, can you check these out? Like, I want to sell these. After the fact, they would say, oh, I'm not even sure if they're real. You know, I just got them gifted to me or whatever. And there's different ways to tell. You can tell by the smell of the shoe if they're new. You can tell black light. We have a black light flashlight. Okay. So we look at it that way. And you can just kind of, being in shoes for so long, you just kind of know what to look for. Yeah. With Jordan specifically, you have to look at the stitching. You have to look at the smell. You have to take into account so many things. But obviously internet's there, so if we're not familiar with the shoe, we just look it up real quick. And but yeah, there's a lot of times where people bring in fake shoes.
Do you, I mean, like, have you ever, like, I've actually seen, I don't know if it's true or not, about, like, where they have, it's like StockX or so, like, they're supposedly selling fakes, and, like, I heard, like, back in the day as well, too, like, Shoe Palace or whatever, they sell fakes at their stores or whatnot. Like, you know, how much do you think of that as true, and is it true?
I mean, when it comes to the retail side, I haven't heard of any, like, a Foot Locker or Shoe Palace doing that. But StockX, yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, really. Yeah, there's a lot of instances where people would bring in shoes with the StockX tag and they're fake. I mean, granted, they could have put the StockX tag on themselves. You know, like people sell that too. Really? People sell StockX tags. Huh. Yeah, and they attach it to the shoe, you know, making it seem like it's real. They try to sell it to a store, and you know the store's obviously baited, but it's got to the point where it's kind of easy to tell what's fake and what's not.
Damn.
So, but they are getting really good.
Yeah, that's what I said. Like,
which is scary, bro.
I remember I seen like I was like on the Discovery Channel or like some type of like documentary. Like they had like counterfeit goods coming from China, and like they're coming here, and it's just like that messes up like the whole market. Yeah, you know, and like it'll make the prices or whatever like go up and go down and everything like that. Yeah. So like I seen that, I was just like, you know, I gotta ask him if he's ever, have you ever bought anything like that?
Fake?
Yeah, on accident. On
accident, there's times where it would be from people that we know. Yeah. And obviously, I mean, granted, I don't know their intentions, if there's someone that we know, or they just didn't know. Yeah. So there is times where we would come across like counterfeit stuff, and we would just keep it in the back or just give it back or do whatever we can, you know, within the guidelines of, you know, our relationship with them, you know. Yeah. So there is times, but there is also a lot of times where customers would just come to us, not even with the intention to sell. They would just come to us to see if their shoe is real or not. So,
got it. Like, now, what's your favorite pair of shoe? Like, you know, I know that they got like Jordans, they got New Balances, they got Adidas and everything like that. What shoe for you guys sells the fastest?
Man, right now, I wouldn't say there's a shoe that... Well, it used to be Jordan 1s. Jordan 1s used to sell all day for us. 1s, 3s, 4s.
Those are like the nice ones, right?
All the time. Yeah, I would say right now our best selling is Jordan 1 Chicago, Lost and Found.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah.
So those sell for us all day, no matter what size, no matter what condition that we have. So those sell pretty well. And honestly, like getting older... New Balances have done really well for us and for people of our age. Like, they just gravitate towards more comfortability.
They look sick too, though.
No, but New Balances back then, they never had that, you know, reputation of being hip and being like actually wearable without being clowned on. Because even when I worked at Nordstrom, people weren't wearing New Balances like that. Mm-hmm. Like, it was usually the older people that wanted the comfortability and wanted the width of a New Balance. Right. But now... That's just what I'm wearing. New Balances right now. Like, that's what people gravitate towards, and that's what's been doing well. And honestly, that's what my favorite brand right now, just because it's comfortable.
Right. Yeah. Tell me about your shoe collection. Like, now that you sell shoes, are you an avid shoe collector?
Yes. So my whole time working in shoes was partly because of like just the access to it and getting it at a discount. For myself. Okay. So obviously working at like Nike Town and Finish Line, and even Nordstrom, I was able to develop a pretty big shoe collection. It never got over 100, I would say. Right now, that's fucking hell. Yeah, right now I'm sitting around like 80, like 70 or 80 pairs.
What do you think that, like, just say for resale value, if you went into a store and you said, hey, I want to resell all these shoes. Mm-hmm. What is the value? Yeah, what's the value on there? 50,000, 20,000, 10,000?
It varies. If you were to ask me this like a year ago, I would have told you an insane amount. Right now, I kind of cut it down to the stuff that I actually wear and the stuff that I actually want to keep. So value-wise, I want to say around 40, 50K.
That's a lot of fucking money, yeah.
But like I said, like I don't get anything too crazy anymore.
What's your grail that you have right now? Like what is a grail? Your grail. I don't know if you have it now or you plan to get. It. Yeah. What are like
Jordan Fragment 1s?
Jordan Fragment 1s.
So they're not the lows; they're the highs.
So Jordan Fragment 1s.
With the bolt, there's like a thunderbolt on the side. Okay. So those I have, and
how much are those?
Brand new. They're valued at like 2,500 maybe. 25. Nothing too. Nothing like.
I mean, you go to.
It's still crazy. You go
to a normal person, right? And you say, I spent $2,500 on these pair of shoes.
Yeah, the thing is, I didn't though.
Yeah, was that?
I didn't spend the 25.
Oh, you didn't spend 25. You got it for a deal.
I got them for a crazy deal, online, and I was able to legit check them on all that stuff. So. I got them at the time. I think I only spent like $700 on them, $650 or $700.
I mean, like, was this a while back when they first came out or something like that?
No, this was 2019.
2019.
Yeah, 2019 or 2020.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess someone just needed money online. I was able to scoop them up. I got them legit checked, and yeah, I was able to get them for $650. I could probably flip them now for anywhere from 2K to 2.2 maybe.
Yeah, that's a huge margin on there.
Yeah. Or actually, probably less than that. I didn't get them with the box or anything like that. So that comes into effect too. If you don't have the box, if you don't have laces, if you don't have all the original stuff it came with, then obviously the value goes up and down. So,
do you like? So you probably experienced this when you were working at Finish Line and Nordstrom and everything like that. Because I remember growing up as a kid. I think my brother used to really collect a lot of Jordans. Like he had the DMPs, he had the 11s, and he had everything like that. And like he used to camp out. You know, he used to camp out like at like 4 or 5 in the morning, and then when the shoot like the release opens, it's like 6 a.m., 7 a.m., and people go in and they buy their size. If they don't have their size, they buy a different size, and they still get something else, right? Like, is the shoe game still like that, or is it more controlled? And like, how does that look like?
Man, it's different now. I don't even know how people get shoes, to be honest with you. A lot of it is online though. With in store, it's usually through a raffle system as well. So they don't do any of the overnight campouts unless it's a store that's doing first come first serve. So if it's a store doing first come first serve, obviously they have people line up, however early before the release date, and then it depends on the store. Like sometimes they give out wristbands, so you don't have to stay in line the whole time. But more times than not, it's through a raffle system.
Okay. Now, that kind of like tells me with like, well, I've actually looked it up because I like Nike, like Dunks and everything like that as well too. Like, aren't those like random like releases, like Dunks and SBs and everything like that, or like, do they?
It's half and half. I would say, there is like a schedule that Nike has to follow and Jordan has to follow, and all these other shoe brands have to follow as far as release dates. But there are times where stuff is just dropped randomly, on Sneakers app. So that's another big thing too. Like they just drop randomly, or they get a restock of some random stuff and they just decide to drop it on whatever given day. But bro, nowadays there's so much product coming out.
Yeah.
Like on a weekly basis, there are like multiple shoes coming out. So it's kind of hard to keep track of everything coming in. That's why we like to just keep it within the shop and see what comes in, see what people have and what people are selling.
So do you have mainly your customers, right? Like, because for us, we have like, because the average person, they're moving about 12, 13 times their lifetime, right? What about that average person that is buying shoes and like, are they like selling shoes and everything like that? Are they doing it like repeatedly, and are they like doing it on and off, or like is it a one-time thing? And how often are you seeing your guys' customers?
So it's crazy. I mean, you were surprised when I said I had 100 shoes, but there are customers that we have that have hundreds and thousands of shoes, bro. So it just depends on how market is. If
do you think that, sorry to cut you off, but do you think that people buy the shoes for investments, or they buy the shoes just because they like them? Like, both. You can't even fucking wear that many shoes.
It's both for sure.
Right.
It's both. There's people that hold on to shoes, just for the fact that there is a possibility that they might spike up, or there is a possibility that they might go down in value. So people are willing to take that gamble if they have the capital for it.
Right.
We have a bunch of customers that just hold on to size runs of shoes just to see how well they do next year. And with trends changing so often.
What's a trend right now?
Dunks actually aren't a trend anymore.
Aren't.
Yeah. They kind of fell off.
They were a quick trend. Like they had the pandas that were like, like a quick trend. Everybody liked them, and like there was like some.
As soon as people started clowning the pandas and clowning the Dunks in general, as soon as they started they oversaturated the market. That's when Dunks they're going for like under retail value now.
Wow.
Yeah. So with trends changing, like right now, I couldn't even tell you what's been doing well or what can do well as far as people like looking for shoes to resell. What
changes the trend, right? I mean, for us, the trend that happens and like why things slow down or get busy is because like the real estate market, and like we try to make sure that we follow the trend and follow the real estate market to prepare accordingly.
Yeah.
Like as far as your guys' trends, is it because like social media stars, hip hop stars, or like famous people, they're wearing the shoes and that makes people want to go ahead and buy those shoes? Or how does that work?
So that used to be a thing. I mean, with shoes in specific, whenever Travis Scott would wear something, that's when the market would go up. But now it's just not like that. Like people don't really care what celebrities wear. It's just not even people, well, like social media stars now it's gotten into. Like what a shoe that you see trending on TikTok or Instagram, people don't even care about what celebrities wear anymore.
Really?
Yeah, it's weird. It's It's weird. I would say, yeah, trends change. Like even Jordan 1s are hard to sell now. When at the time, like all these different colorways and random colorways would do well for us.
Yeah.
Now it's like I said, the Lost and Founds. Those are really the only ones that I could think of that actually do well. Lost and Founds and older ones, so like the Band ones, Royal ones, Shadow ones, those do well.
So I feel like, you know, Jordans in general, like they sell really well, right? But like I think what do you think of like those I don't know, you probably wouldn't even sell it, those like fucking clown shoes, those big
the red boots?
Yeah.
Yeah, those are crazy.
That was a trend, right? That was a trend that people.
Those came out last year, and I feel like they were probably the worst shoe to come out that year.
But they sold, right?
We don't take them in.
No,
we don't take them in. So at first,
did anybody try to go ahead and sell you that shoe?
Yeah, of course. If they're willing to make a buck, but at the time that they released, they did a pre-order for them, and that's where market kind of like messes everything up. So they do a pre-order for them, and you're not going to get them until like 3 or 4 months later. And who knows how much they're going to be valued at 3 or 4 months. So I don't know what the retail. I think the retail on them was like $250 or $300 for those boots.
They were made by Moschino, whatever.
Mischief, I believe it's called.
Yeah, Mischief.
They do like crazy shoes. They do like random shoes.
Yeah.
Like you know when you injure your foot and you wear a boot.
Yeah.
They came out with a shoe that looks like that. So they do random stuff like that.
And people bought it.
People buy it.
People buy it just like it's just new, it's hip,
Yeah.
and then that's a trend.
Yeah.
That's a trend. Then you kind of gotta like follow and catch the trend, and like because you mentioned that a bunch of times, like following, catching the trend, and everything like that. Where do you see like how do you catch these trends? You just watch it on social media, like you watch certain things to catch this trend.
It's a mix of watching it on social media and just looking like in my everyday life, just seeing what people wear. Dunks are a big thing now, and dunks are still going to continue being a big thing. But just watching social media, mainly Instagram, obviously. Twitter's also a big place where people of my interest, like people that are interested in shoes and clothing as well, they talk.
Right.
And you know, just seeing what's relevant and what's common.
Cool.
Yeah.
Man, that's great. So, like, coming on to the end of the podcast, you know, I kind of like to talk to you about, like, some personal things that you kind of like to do on your free time.
Yeah.
What are some things that you like to do on your free time?
Man, right now, I've been really into the fitness.
Yeah?
Just working out, whether it's running outside or at the gym. That's what I'm into right now. Browsing on YouTube. I actually did start kind of reading whenever I have the time to.
What have you been reading? I'm an avid book reader, so I probably read like three books, listen to a couple books a month. So I'm probably hitting like 4 or 5 books a month that I'm listening to. What are some of the books that you just first opened up?
Yeah, books about habits. So Atomic Habits is one of the books that I like to read. Self-help books. Business books I like to read every now and then.
What's one of your favorite business books?
I haven't really started getting into. It's more business podcasts that I like to listen to.
What's the business podcast you like to listen to?
What do I listen to? I've been listening to a lot of the Ben Baller podcasts.
Ben Baller.
So Ben Baller's a big one. As far as books go, self-help books, Atomic Habits is a big one that I've liked to read. What else? And then YouTube, just like business YouTubes and seeing what other shoe stores are doing. Because a lot of shoe stores are big on YouTube.
Yeah.
And I just like to watch and see how they operate their businesses.
What's one thing that you kind of got from like the other people on like YouTube with the shoe stores? Because I watch a lot of podcasts and business self-help myself, and like I use that and I implement that into my business, and I'm always learning and I always want to better myself and better my business.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you got from watching some of those podcasts and those businesses and everything like that, and how did you implement that into your business?
Yeah, so I really watched like the big dogs of the business. Like there is a store called Urban Necessities in Vegas.
Okay.
And
are they inside like the Venetian or
they're
Caesars?
inside one? Yeah, I think they're inside Caesars.
Okay.
And they're probably one of the bigger stores in the country. And just watching their scale and watching how they operate and the way they're able to just expand as quick as they do with their social media background and just their business models are just so crazy. They're so like, you know, you got to shoot for the stars, especially with the shoes and with things changing so quick. I watch their business and it's crazy the implement they have on just other business owners and just kids in general
Yeah.
watching YouTube. So them, I watch them. I used to watch this store called Round Two.
Yep.
So Round Two, they are not a store anymore, actually. Yeah.
All online, huh?
Yeah, no, not even online anymore. They're just they only have like a few locations. But at one point, they were a store that I watched pretty often. They would come out with like weekly vlogs on YouTube.
Okay.
And they got pretty poppin' in LA. They opened a store in New York, in Miami. They only have a store in Chicago now. But
why do you think that is?
oh, the looting. So all the looting that was going on.
Yeah.
During the pandemic, that's what kind of affected their business.
Yeah.
Obviously, they were taking more of an L than they were winning at the time because they were closed on top of the looting and all the inventory was gone.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's super unfortunate, but those were the stores that I used to watch and just kind of business or model my business around. Not completely taking their business model, but doing it our own way and doing it as organic as we could.
Cool.
Yeah.
Where do you see Archived SF in 5 to 10 years from now?
Yeah. So obviously we still want to be a store, but we want to expand.
What does that look like?
So we want to expand into not necessarily another place in the Bay Area. Outside of the Bay Area would be dope. Even out of state would be cool. Or even doing something outside of shoes and clothes. That's something that me and my business partners talk about pretty often. Because we're so into shoes and clothing, but doing something outside of shoes and clothing would be cool.
Like?
Whether it would be like a coffee shop or a boba shop or something that is not labeled archived, but still run through our business model and run through what we like to do and what we're interested in. But yeah, something outside of shoes and clothes because we're so into it.
Yeah.
We're so involved in our business and we love what we do, but doing something and running another business outside of shoes and clothes would be dope.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. And if somebody wants to find you and connect with you or even buy some shoes from you, where can they find you?
So on Instagram, we are under @archivedsf.
Okay.
And then our website is archivedsanfrancisco.com.
Awesome. And there you guys have it. Daniel Tanglau with Archived SF.
Thank you, bro. Thank you for having me, bro.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.